So he did it again in 2022. Well, why? Because he liked to have warm seaports, but he'd also like to have certain minerals and certain level of dominance from a cognitive perspective over Western Europe again. He knows he doesn't have the power, the military might, or authorities to subjugate the old Soviet Union and recreate that. The people who tell you that, people who pontificate on that, are full of themselves and then living in an old age. Okay, Putin's never going to create the old Soviet Union, but what he does want to do is create a cognitive atmosphere to subjugate, and so did the Chinese. And this is where China and Russia have formed an alliance. And in that alliance, they're using asymmetric and cognitive warfare to basically then defeat the United States. And let me give you an example for this. In Ukraine, as some people believe, I do as well, Ukraine is not a national U.S. interest other than the fact that you have a foreign power, Russia, invading another country illegally. Strategically, and over the long term, if Ukraine were to, and portions of Ukraine to remain in Russian power for a decade or more, is not going to significantly impact the United States. However, the cognitive aspect that, from Putin's perspective, is as long as he's in power, he'll never give them up. So he's going to hold and retain that. Also, though, from a strategic perspective and a strategy, Putin and China learned what we did in the Cold War to Russia and to the Soviet Union, in other words. They saw that we drained their national resources and we drained their bank accounts in fighting a kinetic development and build war at the same time with an ideological war. So what are they doing now in the Ukraine? Well, they're doing the exact same things to us, but in reverse. Mm-hmm. They're causing us to deplete our weapons stockpile, thereby weakening the United States and undermining their own military strength here in the United States, right? Yes. Secondly, not only are they depleting their resources, they're ratcheting up our national debt. Well, why did the Soviet Union collapse? Because they competed in a weapons war they couldn't finance, and in an ideological war they couldn't win. And so now Russia and China are doing the same things to us. Only in this case, I think China and Xi is playing a third level chess game, like Go. And the third level chess game is this. Putin is ill, potentially, from all different reports. But even if he's not, he's only going to last so much longer. China thinks strategically, 100, 200, 300 years, right?
Yes.
Well, Russia's a failed state. Regardless of what people say, Russia's a failed state. It is an energy economy right now with no specific other economy. It's a dictatorship. So by default, it's a failed state, and by default, dictators are suicidal by nature. So you have a failed state with a suicidal dictator in charge. From Xi's perspective, I would do the same thing he's doing. I would buttress and support Russia. Why? Because he's bleeding the U.S. dry, and he's bleeding their funding dry, which all benefits China. But as you know, back in the 1800s, China lost a significant amount of territory to Russia.
Yes.
So now, once Putin's gone, who benefits the most? Who has, with the Belt and Road Initiative, who has, with other initiatives, the means and methods to, again, go into the stands and basically usurp the cognitive warfare and usurp subjugation of those different regions? China does, right? And with all the nuclear weapons that Russia has, who is going to be most well positioned then to take advantage of those nuclear weapons? China will.
Yeah, that's his idea.
And China also needs a lot more space for its people, right? Russian people are dying and they're leaving. They're dying younger and they're leaving. So from a strategic perspective, China is positioning themselves very well with respect to Russia. So their alliance for the moment is very good, and it's very beneficial for the long term for Xi. And Putin is a puppet. He doesn't know it yet, but he's a puppet of Xi, and he's being played by Xi. Putin has nowhere near the brains or attention span to repeat what Peter the Great did in Russian history. Peter the Great reached out to the West and was building alliances with the West to strengthen Russia. Russian people, having been there and studied them for a long time, are resilient, wonderful people and have tremendous strength. Putin's best alliance would be with Western Europe, Western states like the United States, to build that structure. But you have neocons in the United States and you have people who are stuck in the industrial age, still fighting the old Cold War. They don't realize the best advantage and way forward is to then align and build a relationship with Putin to help build Russia and its economy from a black market economy into a more free society with a more capitalist system. But Russia doesn't know how to do that. Putin doesn't know how to do that. Why? Because he was trained by the KGB. So in simple terms, I equate Putin with a youngster, a dysfunctional youngster who doesn't know how to date girls. All right. So how does he date the West? Well, he dates the West by pulling their hair or shooting them and killing them to draw attention because he thinks that's how you date, because that's how we learn things in the KGB. So it's a rather odd situation here where we have some significant leverage over both Russia and China, but we're failing to use that because we're stuck with the focus on kinetic warfare. And the real warfare that's been ongoing for decades now, centuries, is in the cognitive domain, the domain of the human mind. But our military, our intelligence community are stuck in the industrial age, while China and Russia has moved into the information age, and they're outmaneuvering us daily. So I've gone on for a while. Let me stop there and see if I've answered your question.
So thank you for sharing opinions, sirs. But when you talk about Xi's perspective for Russia, yeah, I would say she definitely thinks that he could gain more advantage from Russia by pairing with Putin regime. However, we also have some source from the Central Committee of CCP and also the People's Liberation Army that they have told that actually it is kind of verified little by little in the past over 1 year. She is not as strong as she believes to control or influence Russia because in the last over 1 year, during first, our source has told us that the infiltration from the Soviet Union period until now, from Russian side to China to Beijing to the CCP is very strong. Basically, there is a force which can kind of manipulate a lot of things around Xi Jinping. And also, in this kind of ally, Xi Jinping and Putin, they have both been both shared one theory come from, I think you should be familiar with Alexander Dugin, that about his Euro-Asian that theory. Basically, they believe Russia should expand to the East Asian side, and China can move their dominance to the East South Asia, and even expand to the Australia side. And so in this case, Russia and China can be dominant in the whole Euro-Asian continent and also change America's dominance. So based on this theory, Russia from Xi and the beginning, Xi and Putin signed the secret deal in the Winter Olympic, has already made the deal to expand their control into the mainland China. That means they have used the pipeline industry to basically they can, according to their agreement, they can even expand it to Shanghai, which is basically the whole Northeast China is already the the pipeline can go across. And also Putin has got the control, maybe not total control, but they can actually use the very good ice-free harbors in China, including my hometown Qingdao. So their nuclear submarines are actually parked in that harbor, and they have done a lot of this kind of joint exercise in other operations. So these are all the facts to show that once Putin got suppression or beaten from the Ukraine battle, from the Europe side, they will move towards the East Asian side, and they will also turn their focus on Japan, Indo-Pacific area, and also according to their culture or the history, like what happened in the history, Russian will most probably at that time grab more territory from China again and push Xi Jinping and the CCP to work with Russia based in China and towards the east side of the for the further battle. And like at that time, including Taiwan will be in CCP's pocket according to their plan, and also they will of course focus on Japan, and they want to isolate Japan. They want to separate Japan from U.S. ally. So all these things is from the real situation happened in CCP, inside CCP, that we don't think Xi Jinping regime would be so strong to control Russia, especially if Putin has something happen to Putin. We actually would say that most probably at that time, China will be suppressed by Russia, no matter who comes after Putin in this regime, because the network and also this kind of fundamental things are already established, and there are a lot of people inside CCP is helping Russian regime. So in this case, that's what I want to share with you, that Xi is not as strong as he believes. And also, I won't say in Putin's perspective, Xi is so strong, because now basically he's more like using Xi to financially support them and also provide other resources and kind of a tool for Russia regime. And also we know that in CCP's culture, what we Chinese people learn is CCP actually really feel scared of Soviet Union. That's why in Mao's period they have to try their best to separate from Soviet Union, but still later they managed to help Russia in another alternative way to cheat America together. So yeah, this is just what I want to provide some additional opinions. And considering that this section is already run out of the time, and we will have a short break, and we will go back to continue our topics on the cognitive war strategies and also Soviet Union, Russia, China, and the US. So we'll come back soon.